Good evening, everybody. The time is 6 o'clock on Thursday, August 27th, 2020. Welcome to this Vader City Council meeting. Roll call.
Donna Rogers.
Here.
Jason Daly.
Here.
Randy Hall.
Here.
Mike Parsons.
Here.
Samantha Lovelady.
Samantha did get a hold of us and said she would be unable to attend tonight.
And Mayor Shy.
Here. All right, we have quorum. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hall, will you do the honors?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mayor's report. So the planning committee did meet this last week, and they started some discussions on minimum lot sizes, rear yard setbacks, and the historical district definition. They haven't yet made any decisions or recommendations at this time. They still need to talk about it. The next planning committee meeting, unless they hold a special one, it will be September 17th, and the park board will be the day before on September 16th. Council reports. Do we have any reports from the council?
I'm going to give a little report. This is kind of an emergency thing, and probably it doesn't fit right here, but I'm going to do it anyway. So Cindy Radcliffe is having a problem because she put in a request for a short subdivision, and apparently she was on the planning committee the other night to get this done. She's received a call from her surveyor that says the planner has no part in this, and he needs the signatures of every council member and the mayor on the survey. The planner doesn't have anything to do with it, and there's a space on her application on her map of her short plat. So now she's got buyers, and apparently she can't get to the planning committee, which is, in my opinion, where this should have gone through first, or the council now, because she was taken off of the agenda for the planning committee because of the planner not knowing his place. So now what can be done about this to get this through for her, because she could lose her buyers' possibility of doing that. She just needs all she needs for this survey is all the council member signature or majority of, and the mayor.
I don't have all the details of that. I know that the day before the planning committee meeting, we had a request to put it on the agenda, but we didn't have all of the details yet. Diane, did you have any information on that?
Not since the application was made.
Right. So I might be getting my applications confused, but I don't think, if I remember correctly, that one didn't need to go to the planning committee. It was purely administrative, and it could stay within City Hall. I believe that was the understanding that we had.
Okay, well, apparently the planner got involved and decided to take it out of the hands of the city, and he would handle that himself. And that needs to stop.
Well, that's correct. I did consult the planner, Gary, because he's our expert on land use, and he said it was administrative, and City Hall could handle it without having to have a group of planning committee members or city council members dealing with it.
Okay, well, the thing is, I just talked to her less than a half hour ago. So the surveyor, before this can be fixed for her, has to have all of our council member signatures and the mayor, and then she can get started on it. Otherwise, like I say, she's got buyers, but now she can't do anything until this gets done.
What was that, Diane?
So is there a way we could do this? Or
we haven't seen that document, and we haven't heard from the surveyor, so we can't sign anything if it needs us to sign it.
Okay. Is Cindy online? Cindy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can she speak about this quickly?
This is really not the place to be talking about someone's individual
Okay, well,
application for
but
us.
because of the planner, this could have been taken care of. So,
Well,
okay.
No,
Cindy,
that's not
the
true.
battle is yours, my dear.
Mayor,
Once Scott, this is council report time.
yeah, I just wanted to comment really quick on what we were told about that was going to go to the city's contract engineer review, and then for public work issues, and that it was not going to need to be handled by the planning committee or the council, according to Gary's email.
Right, that was my
Well,
understanding as well.
Apparently Gary shouldn't have said anything about this. This is what the surveyor is sending now, and this is what he needs. That's all that's needed to get this taken care of. So,
Like I said, we got this application, I believe it was Wednesday last week, and so we're it hasn't been delayed at all. So.
okay, thank you for listening.
Yes. Any other council reports?
2 seconds.
Hearing none. Agenda approval. I do not have any additions to the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the city council meeting agenda for 8/27/2020 as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Daly to approve the agenda for August 27th as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Parsons. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the city council meeting minutes on 8/14/2020 as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Daly to approve the meeting minutes from August 14th, 2020. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Voucher approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers for the end of August 2020 at $12,923.04, bringing our total of August 2020 to $42,253.71.
We have a motion by Mr. Daly to approve the vouchers as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Parsons. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Special reports. We were contacted by an Andy Caldwell. He was the Deputy Director of Lewis County Emergency Management. Mr. Caldwell, are you online?
I am here.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm just reaching out. I don't want to say the event loses momentum, but we're back out and about doing business. So I want to get back to my routine of trying to make contact with all the cities and make sure you're aware that when it comes down to emergency management requirements by statute, that I am your emergency manager. When you contract with us, if an event occurs specifically in Vader, then I help you manage that event. So I always want to make sure I get that out and we're trying to shift towards a more customer service oriented organization. And with that being said, I am trying to report out as much as I can about what's going on right now. There's not much in the emergency management world. There is a lot going on in the public health world. But as far as emergency management goes, we're serving really a logistics role right now. We're making sure that all the entities in the county, they need supplies, that we're making sure we at least try to find them the supplies. PPE seems to be our primary, right now, the primary product that we're moving for people. Now, we have had the low-income masks. The last of the low-income masks that the state, I think, will be issuing. They were distributed, and they started being distributed last Monday out of the food banks. If you have citizens who, if you need low-income masks and they're coming to you asking for them, please call me, because we held back 1,000 in our office to just be able to do this, to get them out. We've given out almost 90,000 low-income masks through the food banks. So they're out there, but if you need them, we have an extra 1,000 in the office. So beyond that, there's a few things that are coming up. One of the things that are coming up is part of the statute that requires us to have an emergency management organization, and the organization is combined by all the political subdivisions that join together. As the organization, every one of the political subdivisions is required to have a continuity of government plan. The continuity of government plan is going to consist of two major things. That is a succession plan. So if the mayor and city council are unavailable because of some natural disaster, who has the authority to act in their absence? And then also an alternate location where city business will be conducted, so that in the event of a disaster, business still has to happen. So that's going to be coming up probably in the next month or month and a half, where we're going to come out and try to walk you through the process. We're going to have a template to give you, and that template should spell out the process fairly easy. Just plug in the blanks and move forward. But that's all I really had to report out, other than hopefully you'll start seeing me every couple of months. I'll try to make my rounds, and as the restrictions ease up, I would prefer to do it in person rather than on the phone. But are there any questions that I might be able to answer?
Are there any questions?
You guys are going easy on me. A couple of the other cities have hit me pretty hard, but I'll take easy. That's good.
Yeah.
I have a question.
My only thought is, how far from the city would our second location need to be? Just for something to think about.
The reality is it's whatever it can be across the street from City Hall.
Oh, okay.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's just going to check a box for a statutory requirement.
Right.
The county commissioners have chosen Bethel Church as their alternate location. It's just whatever you guys can agree on, and it doesn't lock you in stone. If you choose a location and during the course of the emergency that location doesn't work, you just simply adjust to a different location.
Okay.
Again, it's just filling in a box.
Okay.
Donna,
Sounds like I have another question out there, though.
Donna, you had a question?
No, that's okay. It just got answered.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, okay, great. I thought I was going to get some COVID questions for sure, but nothing, huh?
Well, you said you weren't doing COVID, so.
Well, I can't give you the reasons why behind public health decisions. I can't tell you the reason behind them, but I can answer general questions like where we are in numbers wise, current trends, things of that nature.
I wouldn't mind knowing numbers wise where we are in St. Louis County.
So one of the things that has become important in the news recently, partly because of schools' decisions whether they're going to open or close, is how the state categorizes each one of our counties. So each county is categorized either high, moderate, or low risk, and it's based on how many positive tests we've had in the last 14 days per 100,000 citizens. Now, Lewis County only has 80,000 citizens, so we have to do a little bit of math to extrapolate that out. So a low-risk county is less than 25 positive tests per 100,000, and then a high-risk county is anything above 75 positive tests in that 2-week period. We currently sit at about 100.3 in our last 2-week average. Now, we didn't have 100 positive tests. We only have about 80, I think it's 82 as of today, as of the period that the state is using. But what you do is you have to do a little bit of math to add to that number because we don't have 100,000 citizens. So we still sit above that 75 number. The 75 becomes important because that's where the governor's recommendations for school openings or closures changes. When we get below the 75 mark, he recommends or leaves the option open for kindergarten through 5th grade, hybrids for middle school and high school. And then as we get to a low county or a low risk rating, more in-person schooling is offered or recommended. So where we are right now is about a little over 100.
So we're in the low risk?
No, I'm sorry. We're in the high risk right now.
Oh, I see.
Now, one of the things that I think public health does do a good job of trying to explain is because we are a small county, that's not really a fair snapshot. Because we're a large county, they can absorb outbreaks because they have enough numbers. Where we, if we have an outbreak at the jail like we did with 12 positive cases, that 12 really hurts us. So there's other factors that hopefully we're going to start considering soon as far as if the county is rated high, moderate, or low risk. And one of those I think concerns is just that outbreaks, they really hurt our numbers, even though they're contained, they're not necessarily community spread. So hoping that is something they're going to look at a little bit differently moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any other questions for Mr. Caldwell?
I guess one last thing I can add is if you aren't tracking the daily numbers, we are trending down here in the last week, so that's a good thing.
Good.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mr. Caldwell. Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Oh, thanks so much.
All right. Moving on. Item 1 of city business. Council to consider Resolution 17-2020, Elwood Holdings Variance, VAD 20-16. I have to ask Mr. Hall to recuse himself from this discussion for the appearance of fairness, as Kathy Hall did participate in the planning committee. Victoria Parsons did recuse herself from the planning committee so that Mike Parsons can be here and participate on the city council. Mr. Gross, you're on the line. Would you like to introduce this to the city council?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. We were presented with a variance request that was submitted back on July 20th. It is for one parcel located on Alpine Court, and we met on August 20th to discuss the matter with other committee members. Based on the information that we were given, that you also should have, which would be the plat maps of the property and the property lines. At the time that the application for the variance was submitted, the property was historically a small and narrow lot in that area. It was looking to build, the applicant was looking to build a modest home of about 1,500 square feet, and they were unable to do so unless they could reduce one of the side yard setbacks 3 feet, going from 10 feet down to 7 feet. They did not create that narrowness or the size of the lot when they acquired it due to its, the historic size. Based on those findings of facts, we concluded that, for one, the city did comply with the notice requirements for the variance, that the side yard setbacks property for Elwood Holdings is at 10 feet on both the north and south sides in accordance with the Vader development regulations, and that the side yard setback may only be modified by the granting of a variance under the Vader development regulation 13.010. So we were tasked with making a recommendation to you on whether the variance should be granted or not. And please remember that in order for the council to grant the variance based on our recommendation, that all of the conditions set forth in the Vader development regulations have to be met. that means that if one or more of the conditions is not satisfied, then of course the variance cannot be granted. Remember, this is a decision that is based strictly on the conditions for granting a variance and not whether or not you might think it's a good idea or not. Okay? For the conditions for granting, it cannot be granted unless you, the council, city council, finds that the variance does not constitute or grant a special privilege to the property owner in addition in regards to the vicinity and zone in which the property is located, that the variance is necessary because of special circumstances relating to the size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings of the subject property to be able to provide it with the use rights and privileges permitted to other properties in the vicinity and in the zone in which the property is located. Also know that granting the variance is not materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvement in the vicinity and zone in which the property is located, and that the hardship asserted by the applicant is not the result of the applicant or the owner's action. So all the properties in that zone, which is an R1 district zone, have 10-foot yard setbacks for any structure built after the adoption of the current zone. So the lot at issue was never developed. It is historically narrow and small, as I stated before, and most of the lots in that zone are developed with modest homes, or even large homes in some cases. They're either still meeting the setbacks in the city's code, or they were developed with much smaller setbacks under a prior zoning code. So the granting of this variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege and consistent with the limitations upon its uses of other properties in the vicinity in which the property is located, because it would allow the applicant to do what other property owners in the area have done, to build a modest home on residentially zoned property under the current zoning code. Thus, condition A of Vader development regulations has been met by this application. There is no evidence of special circumstances relating to the size, shape, or topography of location or surroundings of the subject property that demonstrate that the variance is necessary. The lot is undeveloped, and again, it's historically small and narrow. This narrowness creates a special circumstance which justifies the variance in this case in order to allow the use of the property for development of a single-family home in the single-family zoning district. Thus, condition B of the Vader development regulations has been met by the application. In granting the variance, it will not be material detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property, as in the or improvement in the vicinity and zone in which the property is situated, because it allows the applicant to build a single-family home in the single-family neighborhood. The Planning Committee received no comments or testimony from the neighbors or other stakeholders objecting to the variance application. Therefore, there is no evidence that the variance would be injurious to other properties in the area. Thus, condition C of the development regulations has also been met by the application. The applicant claims there will be a hardship if they are required to comply with the current 10-foot side yard setbacks on both sides, as it would prevent them from building a reasonably sized home on the R1 lot. Furthermore, the applicant did not plat this lot or make a boundary line adjustment to reduce the size of the lot. The size and narrowness, again, is historic and predates the applicant's ownership. The hardship meets condition D of the Vader development regulations, which requires that the hardship asserted by the applicant is not the result of the applicant or owner's actions. Thus, condition D of the Vader development regulations 13.020 has been met by the application. Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law set forth above, the Planning Committee recommends the variance application VAD 20-01-V of Elwood Holdings LLC to be granted.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Any questions, council members?
I'd like to,
I haven't.
one moment. I'd like to offer to have the applicant make a statement with a warning that it can only be based on the record, no new evidence. I don't know if the applicant is online or here, but if you are, you can make a statement now. Okay. Hearing none, we move on to council discussion.
Can I make a point of correction?
Well, we do have a point of correction from our city clerk, Diane.
The variance application is VAD 20-16.
Oh, was it read differently?
Yes.
Okay. VAD 20-16. All right. Council discussion. Donna, you had a point?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Oh, okay.
It sounds fine to me. Yeah.
Oh, you could hear me okay, Donna?
My
I
concern
could.
was with the neighbors being a closer setback and hearing that they didn't come forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by our code, we had to send letters to everyone in the area so that they could attend well in advance, so they could attend the planning committee member meetings, and they did not present themselves.
And it does look like in this aerial view that some of those houses, the setbacks have been adjusted from the past, like he was saying.
Any other questions or discussion among the council members?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1720-20 as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to approve resolution 17-2020, approving the application from Elwood Holdings. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Daly. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Would someone please get Mr. Hall so he could return to the conversation? Make an observation that the amount of paperwork and time and planning that goes into asking to be 3 feet closer to the edge of the property is extensive.
I know, right?
It's extensive, but a lot less than just doing it and asking for forgiveness later.
That's true. All right, Mr. Hall has rejoined us. I'd like to move on to city business item 2. Council discussion on the sewer ordinances 2020-08, 2020-09, and 2020-10. At last week's meeting, there were some concerns about the ordinances and the changes that were in there, and the council wanted more time to read them and investigate them. And so, obviously, tonight we're not really interested in approving them. But we had some new ideas, and I'd like the city council members to present those ideas.
One of the things that I noticed is it says 150 feet off the property line, and I think it was a state one that you sent me. I can't find it on my phone. My computer won't log in. Was it a state one that you sent me?
Yeah, the WAC, the WAC has... the Washington State has its own guidelines as well that could come into play if you went to them.
That one said based off of the structure, 150 feet from the structure.
So ours says 150 feet from a sewer line.
From the property line.
From the property line.
So I would like to see it from at least from the structure itself.
Well, if I may, if it's from the structure, then that takes in private property, and I think the sewer line only has to come to the edge of the property, and then it's the property owner's responsibility from their house or whatever you want to call it to the sewer line. So between there and the home, it would be the owner's responsibility. So how I guess you would measure from the property line.
Well, it does say from the property line on the current one, it says 150 feet from the property line. But if someone has a house that's in the back corner of their property opposite the sewer line, and say it's 300 feet or 500 feet or whatever it is, that's a huge expense than just having a house that's right on the property line. That is the closest property line to the sewer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that would be hard if you were that far away from the connection. I don't know, but
and the only reason, well, one, it made sense to me, but two, it's in the WAC, so if we just adopted it the way the state does it, as far as that, it made sense to me. But.
We had a comment from Miss Costello.
I'm going to say the property line because the expense.
I can't hear whoever's speaking. Who is?
Hello, Donna. It's Judy.
Okay, Judy, speak up. I can hear you fine now.
My thought to you, Mike, is that the homeowner is responsible for everything from the property line to your home, where the city's responsible for everything from the property line out to the city services. So I'm thinking the 150 to what your property line is probably a good intent for that ordinance. I mean, one way or the other.
Can I make a comment?
It's an expense either to the homeowner or to the city. I mean, and you don't get to come on people's property. You normally don't come on people's property, and do the sewer line. So that wouldn't make any sense to me to make it so that it was right to your house. I guess that's kind of my question.
Well, that's the way that the...
and I haven't read the state one.
The state one, that was the only difference in the state one, was it was from the structure to the sewer line, and it was instead of from the property line to the sewer line. But I mean, we've got multiple. There's another person up the hill that has 700 feet to the property line.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, this is Cindy.
Yes.
Please.
Can I talk? Oh. We're a perfect example. Our house is over 700 feet from the nearest sewer connection, and we're also uphill from it. But based on those standards, we would have been forced to put a sewer connection in and go over 700 feet. That's a burden on a property owner that seems outlandish and egregious. And the property I grew up on, we have a couple places in the city limits that have these issues. The 20 acres I grew up on at the end of A Street, still in the city limits, but it's 5 acres or 10 acres away from the nearest connection, which is at Mrs. Crawford's house. So you have to at least take into consideration or have something for these people who live on acreage. These ordinances were made for cities and towns that didn't have a lot of large plats like this. And there should be something said about, well, where's the house? How far are these people going to have to go, and how far down are they going to have to go in order to get that 4% grade for their sewer connection?
Mm-hmm. Diane, were you thinking
Could
something?
I also add one question in?
Absolutely.
This is Dr. Margot for 906 10th Street. I realized by looking at the ordinances that there was nothing to give any protections to the homeowners who have current septic systems that are working. And if we could please get something in there so not to encounter severe financial burdens for a septic system that's already working, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Coming.
Right, and the way it's almost the new code regarding that aspect that you're talking about is almost a copy paste of what we currently have. So our ordinances already say what the new code is going to say as far as that. So we've talked about that, and I think most people are in agreement that just adding some clarification in there to ease people's minds that if you currently have a working septic system, we're not going to force you to get in to connect.
Okay, so, sorry. So I have something to say about that because that should be in the ordinance that as long as your septic system is not failing and it's working, it should be in there that you're fine without having to put that in. And also, there is that new code that came in at 2015 that the state passed as a ESB 5871. And this indicates that some places could repair their septics rather than hooking up to the sewer. Like if your tank failed, you could just replace the tank. And Longview has a system where if your drain field fails, you would be allowed to put in one leg to take care of that. So there are these things that we could add in to our ordinance, but I think there needs to be specific protection about the systems failing. And then I'm not sure what you mean by this on, what is it, 1704-015 connection required. This one says all property owners abutting a road, street, and or alley wherein sewage systems are available. Well, on 10th Street, there aren't any available. So what is, and it shall be compelled to connect their sewers to such systems within 6 months after said sewer systems are available. So what is this supposed to mean then?
Which number was that again? 1704?
0.015.
015?
It's on page 2.
Yeah.
That's the one that we're talking about, I believe, that we're...
Okay, but I don't see any footage in here. I mean, I don't see if you're within 150 feet. So is this a combination to be combined with our current ordinance, or is this taking the place of our ordinance? I'm not, because this is getting confusing for me. I don't see anything in here with 150 feet in any of this.
This connection required part is not going to be part of the ordinance.
So, under 17...
Well, what is going to be part of the ordinance? This is the ordinance you're showing me.
Right, there's the three ordinances. 1704-030, mandatory use.
No, 1704.015.
Right, that was the 030 is making the mention of the 150 feet.
Oh,
Okay, so I guess I missed that then. 030.
Right. 1704-030, mandatory use. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's quite a bit. But
I have one more question while we're on this topic, please.
Yes.
And this is Dr. McIver. Is there a publicly available map of where the current sewage system is in Vader? I've looked all over. I cannot find anything.
we have one here in City Hall. I don't believe it's online.
In the light of the pandemic, is it possible to get that online at some point?
Yeah, I could try to take a picture of it, and I'm not sure how well. It's a very large poster-sized document that hangs on the wall that was provided by an engineering firm a while back. I don't think they ever provided us a digital copy of it, but we can take a look.
I can see how that would be problematic. A picture would be wonderful, though. Thank you.
I'll try. The lines that indicate the septic, or excuse me, the sewer lines are very small. I'm not sure how well they'll show up on the picture, but we can see what we can do.
possible for the public to come in now, or is this strictly prohibited?
City Hall has been open for quite some time.
Thank you.
Well, I also have another question on this. In 1704-050 prohibited acts, I'm curious what they mean. They don't want any person to deposit. It shall be unlawful for any person to place, deposit, or permit to be deposited on public or private property within the city or in any area under the jurisdiction of the city, any human or animal excrement, garbage, or other objectionable uses. So what is that supposed to mean? Animal? I mean, what do you do with dogs? Because we've got cows, chickens, horses, dog, cat, sheep, goats, pigs. What is this
Donkey.
supposed to mean? And fertilizer, when people plant during the spring, some of them use chicken and cow and horse and whatever. So is there a clarification on that one?
I don't have any clarification other than what's written in that code.
There's mention of that in the animal code. That the
Does
owner is
anybody
required
else?
to clean that up.
Oh, it talks about it in the animal code, and that you have to clean it up.
Yep.
Well, it's just, I'm talking about most of us have pets and, cats,
think,
dogs,
Donna-
or whatever.
It just means you can't let your pet go poop on city property without cleaning it up.
It says public or private.
This is true.
Yeah, it does.
You know what? When I read it, I keep getting into any natural outlet within the city. So is that, and this is a question, is that a natural outlet? Is that like a spring or a creek or
Stormwater drain.
a water drain or something like that? Is that what that's referring to? And I'm just throwing the question out there. I don't have an answer for you, Donna. I'm sorry.
I don't either, and I'm not. I was reading that kind of the same way. But it's not included in B. It's separate. So I don't know. I'm wondering if they're talking about maybe the groundwater, this seeping into our groundwater, but we don't depend on our groundwater for where our water source comes from. So I'm not sure what this means, but if people are, especially in the springtime, they go get loads of fertilizers and things like that, then that's putting it onto the ground. I don't know, that one just kind of made me curious. I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean exactly.
Well, I think it's supposed to encourage you to have a place to put human waste other than the ground, is what it's talking about. So, but we could.
Well, and it's animal, garbage, or other objectionable waste.
Well,
so, and putting it on the ground, it's not being specific there. It's in the next one down, B, that's talking about into natural outlets or things like that. It's not very clear what that's exactly supposed to mean.
Well, we could ask for some clarification on that if you like.
Natural outlets, I would think would just be nature. And not,
I think it's like a creek or something like that.
Right, natural would be
just natural outlet.
Natural
Right.
outlet, yeah.
Should be unlawful to discharge it into any natural outlet within the city or area under the jurisdiction of the city. Any sanitary, sewage, industrial waste, or other polluted waters. So you have, once again, you have to use the sewer to get rid of your waste. That's what it's suggesting.
Yeah, but A is totally separate from B. I think you're kind of trying to combine them, but A looks really separate from B, totally. So, because they're talking about you putting it on the ground,
right.
Not any sanitary sewage or They're not near any of those places, or I don't think they would have separated it.
It is unfortunate they needed to add that you can't put human waste on the ground in our code, but that's what it's there for. What part of it would you like adjusted?
Well, I would never think somebody would put human waste on.
Oh.
Well, you never know. But I'm talking more about
You wouldn't think.
more about the animal excrement, and that's only because of the fertilizers people use a lot. A lot of it is animal fertilizer. So
I wonder if
that is what I'm trying to figure out is, are they trying to stop people from using those type of fertilizers? Because that's exactly what it would be.
I'm looking at the definitions to see what animal
I would take it
excrement.
as like your animal, your pet waste. Don't throw it on your neighbor's lawn, or don't throw it out on the lawn. Put it in the garden.
Well, someone just threw a bucket of human waste on 10th on Donna's corner. We placed it
I
up.
did what? I didn't hear that or didn't understand it.
Someone threw a bucket of human waste out on 10th, right in the corner of your property. And Kathy and I threw it away. We picked it up as we were walking.
Actually, it wasn't on the corner of my property. It kind of sat between me and E Street, kind of in the middle. I did not even want to go near that bucket because it looked nasty from the outside.
Well, it wasn't nasty. We put it in a plastic bag and disposed of it. But that's what basically people are talking about in the ordinance.
Come on, people. If you have to leave a bucket of crap laying around, just flush it down the toilet.
I mean, as unbelievable as it is, people do stuff like that, unfortunately.
In the definitions up above at the beginning of that ordinance, it describes a natural outlet as shall mean any outlet into a watercourse, pond, ditch, lake, or other body of surface or groundwater.
I got it.
There you go.
So you can put the crap on the ground, it just can't be near a creek.
You can't do that either.
Oh, you can't do that either. Okay.
I can reach out and figure out the animal part, since just to make sure that the animal section isn't referring to fertilizers. I'm sure it's not, but we can make sure that that's obvious.
Where did this come from? I mean, where did they, whoever wrote this up, where did that part come from? Is it like a state or county or?
It's part of the original, right?
Yeah,
it's part of the original, so.
Yeah, let me see in the red line to see if it's part of our original one. More than most of it is, our attorney didn't invent some of this, right? We already had it from ages past.
Well, that could be, I guess.
50. I'm looking in the red line document right now to see.
Come on, Donna. We know you have every document memorized.
Here we go. Yeah, actually,
right.
Actually, if you look at Donna, if you look at that red line document, the one that illustrates the things that were changed or added, 170450, the prohibited acts, is unchanged. A, B, C, D, E, all the way through G, the entire thing. It's already our code. So this was a copy paste of what we already have from years past.
Like I said, I had to admit to never reading the sewer documents. So, okay.
So
we'll just let it ride, and it can be whatever it wants to be, I guess.
Well, it already exists. If it seems to be working now for you, we can keep it. Otherwise, this is a time to change if we needed to change it. So far for suggestions for changes from we have some discussion of whether we should base the distance on the structure of the property line. We have add some language to be specific that working septics are to continue. Anything else?
Well, I would like to see that one part of the with the opportunity to repair a failing system. I mean, unless it totally fails according to the health department. I mean, it would be better for people in our situations to be able to replace the tank if that was possible. It just depends on what the council feels like, but there's so few of us in the community anyway that are on septic. It's not like, half of the city is on it. It's a handful.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a law. So we can negotiate it.
Would probably be,
might cost you more to fix it.
Might cost you more to replace your tank.
And hook up to the sewer.
Not if you have one of those long side sewers, it wouldn't.
So it's true. If it's not just up to the city of Vader, right? If they come in for a building permit, it doesn't.
But a septic tank has to be approved by the county.
By the county, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not necessarily up to the city at that point. So the county could still force you to hook up to.
No, well, I think that's a different situation. I think this is if you have an existing septic system. Mm-hmm. I don't know what. Okay, so I really don't know if that could be just up to the city, but it gives you the chance right here by AWC, a middle ground thing for local governments and property owners for cities and towns effective of 2015. And counties are now required to offer an administrative appeals process when septic repair or replacement of existing single-family systems is denied by the local health department.
Right.
So what is unusual about this new law is that it requires one type of local jurisdiction, city, town, or county, to hear appeals from decisions made by another type of local jurisdiction or local health department. So it is giving an opportunity here, according to the people who replace these things, what a financial burden it is on some people to have to hook up to the sewer when it would be very easy enough to replace the septic tank itself. I don't think that would be as expensive as hooking up to the sewer. I don't know. I couldn't say for sure. But.
Yeah, and I would imagine a repair of that magnitude, once again, that wouldn't be up to the city. That would be up to the county and the health department.
Well, this is what I'm trying to distinguish. If the health department said it failed and we could replace the tank, the city would have to be okay with that, because at that point you could force that person to hook up to it. You know what I'm saying? What I mean?
I think so.
If the line is within 150 feet of either the property or the building.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is even if it is, it says the Septic Installers Association argued that these regulations sometimes forced unfair financial burdens onto homeowners due to the cost of hooking up to the sewer system. This new law gives single-family homeowners an outlet for appeal when a request to repair or replace their existing on-site system is denied solely because of a local law, regulation, or ordinance requiring connection to a public sewer system. So there is an option there for people to be able to repair their system if it's feasible.
What
as far as the health department would go, I would imagine. So
what document are you referring to? So I'd like to look at it and maybe get some clarification.
In It's on MRSC. It's the Administrative Appeals Process. And it was put in by John W. Carpita, Carpitape. Let me see. And he has a post on there. Let's see. I think he's retired now, but you can still get those.
Give a date.
He was resourced many years on engineering, design, purchasing, and contracting issues, local improvement districts, and other infrastructure issues.
Is there a date on that document?
Pardon?
Is there a date on the posting?
That's what I'm trying to find. I don't see one. But I think if you go in and look under his name and the blogs and things that he put out there, you would be able to find it. I just kind of put in septic systems and then went from there to wherever. I forgot. It's kind of a...
Okay, but we can look and see what relevance that has to, at least at our level here in the city.
Yeah, under utilities, it says category utilities. So that's part of what I look under. Yeah, I don't see the actual thing. It's kind of, you get on there and just kind of scroll everything and go through it.
Okay, we'll add that to the list of homework items to look at on these.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'd like to add one comment to that. I did some research on the cost of actually connecting to a sewer and got some rates, although from the city of Vancouver, Washington, we're just shy of $20,000. So if that helps you make a decision about the financial impact of an impoverished community, maybe that will help. Thank you.
I know our fee is $4,500.
That may differ depending on what kind of and how far you have to come to hook up to the sewer.
Right. So sure, the construction costs that go along with it could be additional. Yes, that's correct. All right. Any other ideas?
So this ordinance is already, right now, it's there. And
right. I mean, the vast majority of this already exists for the city. Once again, you were provided with this document that was the red line of the sewer code update. It shows you line by line what was changed, and most of it is adding definitions, changing the numbering scheme in the titles, but the content itself is mostly unchanged. It was just taking what we currently have and being able to fit it into our new code system that we have. So, and then it does add a few protections that the Department of Ecology wanted the city to have in order for us to get those grants and things like that for the sewer plant. So that's what started the whole thing. Was
we have to be careful changing that without checking with the state and the county.
Yeah, I'm sure our attorney can keep us safe on that. It shouldn't be too big a deal.
Otherwise, it could jeopardize that loans and such.
So is this enforceable by a notice of violation? Is that how it falls under?
Mm-hmm.
So Brian says yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's somebody that is dumping raw sewage onto the ground that needs to be reported.
Please report it.
Okay.
'Cause that's not just a city issue. That's a Department of Health issue.
Okay.
Where is that happening at?
Vader?
The corner of the property.
No, I know. I figured that, but where? What location?
I'm not doing that over the thing. I'll tell the person that told it to me to put a complaint in. So.
Okay, because that's dangerous to everybody around. Wow. None less the bucket out here.
Yeah, at least use a bucket.
Okay. Oh, we do have a comment from Ms. Costello again.
Ask Donna if she can hear me.
Speak up and she'll probably be able to hear you.
All right. So, question: thank you, Mike. Are we going to talk about something in here about capping of the sewer line if you do not pay your bill? Is that in this ordinance to be looked at?
There are a couple references to capping the sewer line, but in there. But it does open the city to some liability if you do that. I've heard, if you cap their line and then they continue to use it, it can back up and damage their home.
I think
I've heard that before.
Yeah, but you would have to give them plenty of notice to do that. I mean, you couldn't just walk up and cap their line. That would damage their home if they were using it and didn't realize it. But I talked to MRSC attorneys about that, and they said there is no law that says you can't. So, and I've seen reference from other cities doing it. Right in here in ordinance 08, 1704-130, right of entry for inspection, in this part of it, where it says, they have the right to come in and conduct inspection tests or carry out other duties imposed by this card. If entry is refused, the city officials shall have recourse to every remedy provided by law to secure entry. Such remedies include terminating service, including disconnection and capping off the side sewer. And I was told by MRSC that these types of things are strictly up to the city to enforce. And I've looked in the state ordinance, and it also gives full authority to the cities. The city is fully in charge of making their own laws and doing this. So I guess if you didn't warn them you were going to cap it off, you could get in some trouble. But if they're told it can be done, I think it can be done. So
I know that.
It might.
I know that in Vancouver, I had a rental property, and the renter did not pay the sewer bill, and so by the time I got them evicted and took it back, I went to the sewer department, and I said, why didn't you just turn it off? And they said, we can't turn it off. All we can do is keep the bill going and put a lien on the property. So when I sold that property, I ended up having to pay my renter's sewer bill. So
I don't know. Yeah, that's what they told me, that the city is pretty much in charge of that, and they're claiming there is no real law. And maybe just Vancouver didn't want to do it. I don't know.
Well, not only that, there's not really an easy way to shut a person's sewer system off. I mean, it's not like there's a shut-off valve like the water.
Yeah, a lock.
Some of the manholes could offer easier shut-off ability, because if you look down in the manhole, it's just piece of pipe just sticks out into the manhole. And you could just cap it. Some of them, if you knew which one it was. And some of them could be easier than others.
I think John would want to raise if we're going to be having him cap sewer pipes.
Well,
I don't know that John would be qualified to do that.
Well, that's one thing.
If we did that, it might be have to hire somebody to actually do it, but I don't know. There's got to be some way to put a stop to the people who deliberately don't pay their bills. And I've been told this to my face, that not to pay my sewer bill because the city couldn't do anything about it.
So I think that a lien on the property would be the cleanest, easiest way to do it. And then
it is. And the city was, when I say the city, I'm going to say was prepared to do this, but then COVID happened, and then the governor put the kibosh on all of the late fees and the evictions, and along with that came utility issues. So we are legally unable to do anything at the moment because of the information.
But those bills can still accrue.
The bills actually are not. The late fees are not allowed to build right now because of it.
The bills can accrue still.
The bills
not
are
the late fees.
The bills are still there, right?
Yes.
Just for perspective, we have over $30,000 in past due sewer bills that have not been paid. And we do use the liens, so every now and then somebody sells a house and we get paid for it. But we still have that much money outstanding.
Right. I was actually prepared to introduce something to the council to start foreclosure proceedings on one or two of these places, but we can't right now.
Oh, okay.
So, but I will actually. I'm interested in this capping idea. Everything I know about it is I've been told by other people. I haven't ever. I don't want to say it's hearsay. It's people that I trust their opinion from. But I'll figure out what the real story is and see what we can and can't do for it.
I think it's dangerous though, because say you do it, then it overflows on the property and goes all over the place back into the environment. I think that is really not an option.
How long until we get our water department back so we can shut our water off if you don't pay your
There you
bill?
go.
That's what
That's
we
a
need.
solution.
That's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
It is.
That is a solution.
There is a multi-page document in the back that you are welcome to read, and you can learn everything the city needs to do, and it is lengthy. But we're going to do it. But it's not this year. All right, capping sewer lines. I'll look that up. I'll get the full story and report back to you guys on that. Anything else on these ordinances?
Well, I thought, are we going ordinance by ordinance, or is it just one big thing? Because I have a lot of other questions on some of them.
Well, if you'd like, we can continue on, or you and I can have a meeting and we can talk about it offline here. You could type it up
and
and
brought out into the public. This isn't something that should be private, because I want to know about. There's one in here in 2020-09, that ordinance in 1708-002. It's talking about an administrative fee. It just says, what is that? How much is an administrative fee?
$25.
Yeah.
Diane says it's a $25.
That's pretty vague.
Diane says our administrative fee is $25, and it's probably in our fee schedule.
It sets up a new account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you would find that. That's just a basic fee thing. Okay.
If you have a list of questions,
I have a question about inspections. It says in there, the inspector can come to inspect, it says at a reasonable time. What is a reasonable time? What do you define as that? I mean,
I would imagine legally, I would imagine legally the reasonable time probably has a definition, and it's probably business hours, I would imagine.
8, something like that.
well, I don't know, but it was vague, so I thought I would ask about it.
I suppose reasonable is different to everybody. 7:30 council times are reasonable to me.
There's nothing to define what they say reasonable is. So
right. What else do you have?
Well, I guess if everybody's done, then
I definitely want to address your concerns. And if you have a list, please give them to City Hall so that we can get answers for you. I definitely want council members to be comfortable with ordinances. And we can.
Well, yeah, but I also want the public to be comfortable with them too. So I think it should be.
Absolutely, you are the public too. So we are.
Well, yes, but not to the public. I'm a council member, so the public beyond me needs to know.
But
So-
the public has access to these, and they can also give us a list. And if they're listening right now, let us know what your concerns on this document are also, so that we can address them before we make a final thing, and then we have to go through it again.
Yeah, it seems like the public, from the members of the public that have expressed concern, they just want guarantees that existing septics can continue, and we'll absolutely add that in there. I've already made sure that that's okay, and we've been told that is not a problem putting that in. So that'll be in there, and that should ease a lot of people's minds. And then we have a few things from council members that we can add in.
I think this is actually something, this is probably one of the first ones that we've done, but there's going to be a lot that as we go through the codification and all of that, and we get these ones that need to be updated, we're going to realize that spitting on the sidewalk is still illegal or whatever, and every one you get is going to have a bunch of issues in it as we go through them.
Yeah, and with everything, I mean, as years go by, what a city council wanted in the 80s is not necessarily what the city council wants in the 2020s, right? So that's why we can change things.
We don't want anything in 2020.
We want
Except to be over.
Here. Yeah.
Any other any discussion on this right now on these ordinances? Okay. Hearing none, moving on to the last item of city business, council to consider authorizing up to $1,000 expense for McMurphy Park security camera system. So first question that everyone asks, where does the money come from? In our budget, we have $3,000 for park improvements. We haven't spent any of it this year. So that's where it would come from. So as some of you probably remember, there was an assault at McMurphy a few weeks ago. The sheriff's department asked if we had some footage of who was coming and going, and of course we didn't. And so we didn't have that evidence to supply them.
That was my first question. What's the need for it?
Right. We've also have issues with people going down there in their cars and doing cookies down there and causing mud holes and all that in tracks.
I thought they were donuts. It's a different pastry.
Well, whatever pastry you want, they look more like maple bars to me.
Okay.
But so if we had that and we had footage of who was driving in and out of the gate, we would have all that as well, and so we could actually do something with enforcement.
We got the poles already up there.
So we have the poles. Yeah, it would all go up on the pole.
We didn't have power when we put the poles in, so.
And so we'd all put it in there. Put it in there.
Sheriff department has access to that.
We could if it would be password protected, but we could share that with them, or we could give them, or we could not. We could just provide them with the footage that they wanted.
They're really good at coming in, like at the store if they want something. They know how to get into most of these surveillance systems, and they whip it on a little stick thing and take it with them. And they're gone. Yeah.
So, except there is money for it in the park budget. If we want to do this,
is it one the system that you looked into? I don't know if you have or not, but you have a price tag on it. So, is it able to, like McMurphy gets closed down during the winter and locked up? Can it be moved over to?
The cameras would be mounted at the top of that pole, well out of reach, so it would be inconvenient to climb up there or use a lift to take the cameras down every year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a long ways up there.
It's a tall telephone pole. Not telephone.
The one inside the fence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was something that we could use year round.
Where would the feed go to from the camera?
Oh, it would probably go into the building right there, in the lockbox.
It would be stored locally, yeah. If we had internet down there, we would be able to access it from City Hall, but of course we don't. So, we'd have to go down there and download the footage.
What about an Arlo camera ran off of cellular?
The Arlos have cellular. I know some of the trail cams are cellular as well, but
yeah, Arlo. I've got one that I use through Verizon.
the battery powered, right?
Both battery, or you can plug it in, and then you can access it anywhere.
Yeah. But we'd be down there anyway. I mean, if there was damage, then we would see it when we were there, and we could get the footage right there too.
I think it's a great idea. I think over the past, there's been vandalism down there every year, even with the gate issue. So I would like to make a motion that are we motioning this, or are we just considering it? Okay.
No, not yet. I want to know why it's so expensive.
Well, my little Arlo camera, Donna, just to give some perspective, my little Arlo camera was $499, and it's just one little camera.
Yeah, this is.
There's several cameras at $100 a piece, plus the conduit, plus the wiring, plus there's a box that goes inside the building that stores the footage for a long period of time. I could send you the full.
Okay, so what's wrong with the trail cams? You can hide those in the trees, and they're not as noticeable as one up on. They'll just shoot that thing down. I mean, they love guns, so that won't. I don't think that'll last all that long, but.
Well, you get a picture of who's shooting it, but
yeah.
The problem with trail cams also, because I bought one of those, and that one, the one that I bought was $600 for a trail cam.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Especially when you can access without actually opening and getting into to access it from the top of a pole. Yeah, they're expensive, and that's just a still shot or a 3-second video, and they are. Their high definition would be something that.
Well, what I'm asking though is if you can't get anything off of the camera remotely, you have to actually physically go up there and take it out of the camera. Is that what you're saying?
No.
That's like a trail camera kind of thing.
Yeah, you could just go into the building down there to get it, or there's also a Wi-Fi option. So if you could pull up locally and download it.
Okay, so is it wired in too then? Is it also wired?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the power is wired, yes.
Okay, so there's no difference in what the other description was saying too. You'd have to all go through all of that for this camera. Okay, well, if they see the wiring, how are they not going to? And if you think they're not going to break into that building, if they know what's in there.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
there's no perfect solution.
It's wire inside a conduit, and the whole pole is inside a 8-foot fence. So.
Oh, is it? Is that whole thing fenced off?
Fence, yeah. And there's been cameras on both of those, and neither of them have been shot at. So.
Well, yet. Okay, I don't know. I just think that's an awful lot of money for a camera down there, considering we can't buy a city computer.
I'm trying to.
I've been looking at laptops. I found some refurbished ones that are still available for $400.
And when would you be purchasing that?
As soon as I can find one that meets my criteria for a laptop.
That needs to be soon.
All right.
That'd be the right one too. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city to spend $1,000 on a security system for McMurphy Park.
We have a motion by Mr. Daly to approve up to $1,000 expenditure for security cameras for McMurphy Park. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hall. More discussion.
already picked this security? I'm getting the impression that this is already a done deal. You've already picked it out and you know what it is. And
Yeah, do you have...
There were no other options presented than this.
This was a high quality option. This is a high definition, high quality option that would meet our needs. So yes, I have done price shopping to come up with some options that would meet our needs. So that's why I knew how much it would cost.
Okay, so you've already kind of decided on a camera then.
No, he said he price shopped cameras.
Okay, I didn't quite hear him. I don't know if you're backed away from the microphone, Mike or Joe. I mean, anyway, all right. Well, you guys, I'm done.
So I may have lost track. We have Mr. Hall seconded it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Public comment. Please come forward if you're in the room, and if you're not in the room, there you go.
Hi, I just would like to say that people want to build up the community and bring in business and take care of the parks. Then you got to kind of spend a little money to do that.
Who is speaking? I have no idea. I can't hear her too well.
Kathy Hall.
And your address.
Okay.
10510.
If you could speak up just a little bit or get closer to a microphone.
It's Kathy Hall, 70510.
Thank you.
Welcome. No,
What was your comment?
I just think that if we want to build the community up and make it nice and then have people come, you want to take care of your parks, you sometimes got to spend a little money.
Well,
they're
I
going to come
agree,
anyway.
Kathy, and it's kind of upsetting that they haven't spent any this year on that park down there, like for gravel or anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Does it need gravel? I don't know.
Diane, you had a comment?
Yeah,
Yes, the piece of equipment that we bought for the tractor,
the rake thing.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
was able to relocate the gravel on the roads that were there, and it's sufficient without buying anything new.
Nice.
That's
awesome.
I have seen it drive by, but I haven't been down there to look at it.
Any other public comment?
I guess I have to get up there if I want to talk, huh?
Yes, sir. If you'd like to comment, please come up to the microphone.
All right. I can do that.
Please give us your name and address.
What's that?
Your name and address.
Hey, my name is Doug Gwynn. My address is 915 G Street. So far on the sewer, what I heard tonight has kind of calmed me down a little bit. But let me just speak from my side. So let's say you guys force it. You're not just forcing to hook up. You're forcing to pay another $200 a month, roughly, to have the service. When you're sitting with low income, and we are, what's ours total? About $30,000 a year. That sounds like a lot, but that's nothing. I bet yours is more than mine. Without even asking, I can almost guarantee it. So, like I say, I'm not quite as excited about it as I have been, because it sounds like you're not going to cram it down. And I hope you continue to go that way, because there's a lot of us that can't afford it. That $5,000 sounds a little puny, $4,500. Then you add on all the digging and the pipe and everything else, you're talking way more than $4,500 for just permit. So you got to keep all that in mind, because there's a lot of senior citizens that are on a set budget. And once that budget is set, it's hard to stretch it. You know, we give up a lot of things that we like to do, but the one reason we can do a few things is because we're in a community that things work pretty smoothly most of the time. I've lived here 26 years. I'm not a newcomer. And I appreciate what you guys are trying to do, but you still have to remember there's low income. And low income can't do these things. So I appreciate your time letting me talk, and I do appreciate that it sounds like you guys are working towards something feasible. Okay?
As long as you're here.
Mm-hmm. As long as I'm here, I'll come again. I'm sure. Because that's the only way you can really get the feeling of the community is by people throwing their 2 cents in. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'll say a few words on that once we get through public comment here. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, elected official comment. I'm going to respond to you. So the only reason we're updating the sewer ordinances at all is because we're working on the new sewer treatment facility, and part of the Department of Ecology grants that we got required us to have a few other things in there. None of those had anything to do with septic systems. In fact, all of the changes that are in there don't involve septic systems at all. Everything that's in the new ordinances that we're looking at is the same as what's currently on the books for the city of Vader. So nothing is changing as far as septics. Okay. What has people worried is that they finally read what's on the books and they realized it does not specifically say that existing septics are grandfathered in. Mm-hmm. And so that's been brought to our attention, and the city council understands that, and we're going to make sure that protection is in there.
Yeah, because, and I'm going to say this, and this is just a passing thing, it hurts me to think that I have to improve if we did have to change to the sewer, when I can't even get a water pressure at my house.
Yeah.
I get 30 pounds at the meter. It's supposed to be way more than that.
Yeah, you're not the only one up in that corner of town that talks about water pressure. But
yeah, and so PZ needs to work on that.
Yeah. All right, any other elected official comments? Mr. Parsons?
Yeah, I do have some.
Oh, Donna has one.
Did anybody else want to go first?
No.
Nope, you're first.
Okay. I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about the codes here, the updates to the ordinances. There is just about every city that I researched around us, they all have I gave the city, Diane, things for the council people to look at for helping people pay for this through the city, like financing it over time, over years. I don't know, were they given that information?
I have a copy of it.
Yes.
No. I'm with it.
I got an ordinance from the city of Toledo because that's what they had to do with some of their people whose systems actually failed. And because they folks could not afford to hook up to the sewer, they financed it over several years for them to make payments on it. So
I know that
everybody
Vancouver,
around that I've researched has that option.
Is that what this is about? Okay.
Vancouver does that too, Donna.
Okay.
Yeah, they have some type of thing.
I would like to see that, in case that ever happens, I mean, probably isn't going to happen for a while, but I would like to see that in there, where we could do that.
And just so that everybody's aware also, a friend of mine in Vancouver, they ran the sewer down her road, and it was $20,000 to hook up. The hookup fee was $20,000, not $4,000. And and that's what they did. She ended up having to finance it through the city for a time, but
that's an incredible amount of money.
Yeah. I know, yeah. crazy amounts of money.
Yeah, 'cause you know, it's like that. I'm low income too, and I'm on a fixed income, so that would be devastating for me. And I know a lot of other people on the street are in the same circumstance.
I read this today too. This is the City of Toledo thing, and I thought that would be a great addition somehow. Also.
Okay, well,
It wasn't on the agenda.
I can look into that and see what people think.
You really want to look at the financial impact of that.
Well, it is, right? I mean, the city is taking on some responsibility as well, right? I mean, we already have folks not paying. You know, now we're going to have people that owe the city an additional $5,000 on top of their
what
more.
I'm hearing is that's not really affordable to make payments for, even if it's finance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in this community, what's happened, I noticed, is people get together, you bring a backhoe, and somebody else comes and they help the neighbor and help you fix it. But that's because it's a small town, and that's where it's happened. People come together and, you know, help you out because you can't afford it. And whether the city can financially afford to have a program like that, I'm not sure. That would have to be look at the numbers and
right. And it would all depend on how many at once, right? I mean,
well, it could be
one,
okay, 20, yeah.
But
yeah, but it's good to have something in there for like the Bureau scale to help you get through that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, another thing about that too, like I say, we only have a handful of people, and I don't suspect we would all fail at the same time should that happen, and we have to hook up to the sewer. I seriously doubt it's going to be a huge financial problem for the city.
Well, I don't actually think all the people that you're referring to, Donna, at least that I'm thinking you're referring to, I don't think any of us are close enough to a sewer line right now anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, you know, it's an ordinance, and if we're going to update them, you know, maybe we should just do it, and it's there. So.
Okay. Any other elected official comments? All right. Hearing none, this meeting's adjourned at 7.
Oh,
Donna, you're not done yet. Okay. What's left?
Oh, you know what? Let's just let it go. I think we're all worn out tonight. I will get you the next time.
All right. I look forward to it.
Get you double the next time.
Meeting's adjourned at 7:33 p.m.